everyone. Sorry I haven't done a video in a while. This last week I've really been out of it. I've been so exhausted again. These waves seem like they're just back to back now. I'll be completely exhausted for a few days, like literally can't even keep my eyes open. And then all of a sudden for 2 or 3 days I will just be bursting with energy that I don't even know what to do with myself. So I thought I would make a video today when I have some energy again. The last 2 days I've literally been sleeping all day, going to bed at 7:30 at night, taking the kids to school, and then taking a nap. So I wanted to talk about the Mandela Effect, and it seems like a lot of people are confused. They're not quite sure what's going on with it, and I was confused and not sure at first too. Then I started getting information. I guess people call them downloads. I started getting the knowings that I get, explanations of what it was, and then I would find a video where someone was experiencing the same thing as I was, or they were having the same kind of download information that I was getting, so it clarified for me, that my information was correct. And from what I understand, what the Mandela Effect is so we have all these fractal souls of ourselves. Like every time you make a decision, a new dimension, I guess, a new timeline is created. So for every, like there's me somewhere who went to school and was a lawyer and did that, and there's a me somewhere who, went ahead and became a veterinarian, I'm sure. So every time you make a different decision, it breaks off into a new timeline. So there's all these different fractal aspects of ourselves. What the Mandela Effect is, all of the timelines are collapsing in on itself until we are all collapsed back in, till our soul is one whole piece again. And I believe that is when the event will happen, or that is what, maybe not, the event won't cause it, but maybe when that happens, that's when the event will occur, or we'll see, the rainbow light that's going to come and raise the whole vibration of the planet, as some people have seen in their, hypnotized states. So yeah, it's basically, the reason the timelines, at first, they were just little differences, because your timelines that are right next to this one, there's just little tiny differences that you wouldn't really notice. Well, the more we get deeper and deeper into it now, the farther out the timeline was, so the more different it is. That's why the people that you used to know and love may seem like completely different people. You may have even asked them, like, or thought to yourself, like, who are they? They don't act like they used to act. They're like a completely different person. And really, I guess it's because they are. I would like to think that they are becoming better people, because with each of your, fractal pieces of your soul coming back together, the goal is to make you one again and be a whole, complete being again. That might also be why we have the feeling of disconnection, and being lost, and not feeling right. That's interesting. That thought just came to me. So I made a few notes, because I tend to get off talking and forget what I was going to say. So I made some notes on like my ascension symptoms and kind of what happened, my story, and how I came upon the Mandela Effect and that kind of thing. I really like listening to other people's stories, because things will click. Like something I hadn't even thought of was a symptom, and then I, see videos and other people are commenting on it that they're all having the same thing, that same week. And I never even thought about it being a symptom. So I'm gonna name, some of the things that happen with me, and hopefully it helps someone out. So back in February, well, I did in January on my birthday, January 28th, I did a blood over intent, which was it's a spell you do. You put a little drop of your blood on it to kind of sign it, and it is to bring heaven on earth. And supposedly if 144,000 people did it, that would be like the activation for heaven to come to earth. Now, I don't know if that's what is activating the event to happen quicker or anything like that, or if it's a coincidence that it happened around the same time, or if it was, the universe's way of, realizing that I was ready for my own ascension. But so on my birthday, I did that. And almost immediately, I started seeing changes. The world just seemed different to me. And then in February, I got really, really sick. And I'm really healthy. I take care of myself, and I don't get sick. I was deathly ill. It felt like the flu. My whole body hurt. It didn't seem like I was getting better. It lasted for about 2 months through February and March. And it's funny because I actually just watched Michelle Walling's interview on Unbiased on the Fence with Shane, and she explains leaving her, her most of her higher self in this body, her higher consciousness leaving this body and like going to get an upgrade or whatever it's doing, and kind of leaving like a zombie behind that kind of just goes through the motions, but it's not like you're not fully there. And hers lasted for 2 months, and so I'm wondering if maybe that's what I was going through also. Because I went through a spell where I just wanted to eat junk food. I just wanted to eat all kind of food, which is totally out of character for me. And what else did I want to do? I just wasn't myself. Oh, I felt like I was just in a fog. Like I kept telling my kids every day, like, can you guys hear okay? Like I feel like I was underwater. That's the only way I can explain it. And it was every single day for like 2 months. It was like this foggy, like if you're trying to hear underwater. That's exactly what my head felt like every single day. I was getting headaches. I actually got 2 rashes, and they came out of nowhere. I've never had rashes before. One was like I realized later, and once I realized where they were positioned, they went away immediately. So I think it was trying to bring attention to my chakras and let me know that that's what I needed to be working on at that moment. It was my sacral chakra. Actually, I had a rash right exactly where my chakra would be, just out of nowhere. And then once I realized, oh, that's kind of weird, it's, right where my sacral chakra is, I went and saw, what kind of things I could do to fix it, and started doing those things, and it disappeared. Then I got a rash right directly between my breasts where my heart chakra would be. The same, like, weird, it wasn't really a rash, it was like a red spot on the skin where it was like raw skin basically. And it was right where my heart chakra was. So I wondered if it was the same thing that was going on with my sacral. So I started working on my heart chakra. Eventually, a couple weeks later, that went away. Because it took me a while to put it together and realize, and then to do the work. The forgiving. I did a lot of forgiving people that have hurt me in the past. Meditations where I'm sending them love and forgiveness, and, that kind of thing. Writing out intentions to forgive everyone, and basically just trying to spread the love and raise my vibration, and it worked, and it went away. And it's funny, then after that, I started seeing like rainbows everywhere, And then I started hearing videos and people talk about rainbow auras and like the rainbow body. And the download I got about that was, I think it came in a meditation actually. I was shown like all of their chakras aligning and being like in tune finally. And then your aura turns into a rainbow. It's a mixture of all your chakras put together. So all, you're vibrating at the right level finally. And so I started to think, okay, that's what was going on. Those were my two things I needed to work on, and I cleared them up, and then I started seeing rainbows everywhere. So the big thing was just love. We have to raise our vibration. We have to definitely forgive anyone who's hurt us. And, some really terrible things have been done to me and my family. And it was really hard to say the words that I forgave them. I mean, I cried and bawled and, fought myself for a while until eventually one day I was just able to release and let that go. And as soon as I did, everything started getting better. So you just have to do it. No matter how hard it is, it's the next level. That's why you came here, to experience all of this. I can't think what it's called. Contrast, to experience all the contrast of the good and bad. Because before we come here, we're just a light body. We don't have a body to experience these things with. And I think we forget that. We definitely forget that. And, we have hard times and we beg to get out of these bodies and we just want to be spirit again. And what we don't realize is when we were spirit, when we were light, we begged to get into these bodies. There's a long line of beings waiting to get onto the earth for this ascension that we're going through. And we're here. We made it for whatever reason. So definitely don't leave. Definitely don't leave. I've wanted to leave many times and gone through horrible, horrible things, but now I understand why. And I'm on the other side, and that's why I came here. And now everything just makes sense. So I also wanted to talk about other things. So the rashes. I also started hearing people's thoughts. That I was at the mall one day and I heard a lady say something, and I turned to my daughter and said, "What'd you say?" And she's like, "I didn't say anything." And something in me knew, so I started like looking around, and there was a lady and her husband, a pregnant lady and her husband that had just walked past us. And I turned and looked at them and realized that it was her that had said it. And I realized she didn't say it out loud. It was what she was thinking about her and her husband. And so I kind of freaked me out. And so I kind of started trying to listen in to other people. And I was able to do it a few more times. Pick up on what they were thinking. I do it with my kids a lot too, and they actually do it with me a lot. I think people that you're closer to, it's easier to do it with when you're with them all the time. And I'm sure you've done it before too, and you don't even realize you're doing it. You may even think you heard them whisper it, but really, check in with them and ask them, because chances are a lot of you have gone through this also. So also, oh, okay. So this last week, I used to get like carpal tunnel. I do massage, and I started getting carpal tunnel maybe 6 months ago or so, I guess, where it would hurt really, really bad. So this last week, my arms have really been achy again. My wrists are kind of messed up and popping and doing weird things. My feet and ankles have been popping a lot. and my hips feel off. Like I was walking yesterday and my hips felt weird. I felt like I was walking funny to where I actually had to like think about walking, like think about how to walk. It wasn't just subconscious, doing it for me. Um, and of course, now the next day I'm realizing, oh, hey, these are probably symptoms. And kind of, I think we're about to have another body change, another shift. If you're familiar with the Mandela Effect, you will know that our bodies are different. Um, I have several things different with me. I remember when I was young, I used to be able to push my kneecap back and forth. I would sit in class and poke my kneecap back and forth. And then someone mentioned how they couldn't do that anymore. And so I was like, what? No way. So I get out and I try it, and it does not move. Not even if my leg is straight or anything, it doesn't move anymore. So I made all my kids even try this, and all their kneecaps still wiggle. So I don't know where I came from, but this isn't the same body I had. Also, I don't know if you can see, but my eyes, at the top of my eye, there is this like clear stripe. I don't know what it is or what caused it. I don't even remember when it came, but that weird thing is there. Um, our schools are different. If you remember, the old schools, they used to have uh, just like a hole where your nose was. The school just had a hole. Well, now there's a bone that runs down the middle. Also, the eye sockets used to just be holes. I remember being taught, like, defense class, you could, like, poke your thumbs through someone's eyes in defense, and to be careful because you could actually kill them because their brain is back there. You can't do that anymore. So why would they have taught us that if it wasn't, even possible? There is bone behind the eye now. There's just a tiny little hole where, like, the nerves come through, but it's all bone behind the eye. And if you remember the skull like I do, that's totally different. Also, the skull, this is one of the big things, the skull and the body changes that blew my mind and really woke me up to the Mandela Effect. Because I do massage, so I was very familiar with the body. So also, the skull, I remember, the spine was attached to kind of the back of the skull. So, say this is the skull. It would kind of come out of the back and kind of low. Well, now it goes straight up the middle, and it actually goes up into the skull to connect to the head, which is crazy. That it's totally different than where I came from, the timeline that I am familiar with. What else is different? I don't know. I have a lot of differences. I can't think of all of them right now. So so I didn't even realize like what was going on when I started waking up. But now looking back, hindsight 2020, right? Probably around 2011, 2012, um, I there were signs that something was going on. Um, Actually, both of my parents left. They left Earth around that time. My mom in 2011, my dad 5 months later, which flipped my whole world upside down. And when my dad passed, he passed in my arms. We were alone, just me and him. I had been taking care of him. He was passing away with cancer at the time, and my mom and I were taking care of him, and then my mom was killed in a car accident on the way home from work one night. So then I had to take over care for my dad completely by myself. I had to move my kids into his house, and we stayed there. And he just went downhill after my mom left. I've done past life regressions and stuff now, and I realize I've seen them together in different lifetimes, and I actually was shown a promise that they made each other, that they would come back one more time, but the only way they would come back is if they both got to leave at the same time. And that healed me of all my pain. That healed me. I thought I was being punished. Why would I lose both parents at the same time? And it just opened my eyes. I did a past life regression of Brian Weiss's. Love him. Check him out on YouTube. And I got to see all this, and I was given information, and it totally healed me. I realized that it was just a testament of their pure, true love that they left at the same time. It had nothing to do with me. It was not a punishment. And my whole outlook on that completely changed, and I was able to heal from losing both my parents 5 months apart. Before that, I was a wreck, so that really helped a lot. I also read Brian Weiss's book, Many Lives, Many Masters, I think is what it's called. Everybody, if you've lost anyone, or even if you haven't, you should really read this book. It will just explain everything to you, make you feel so much better about it. You'll realize they're not gone, they're still here, and that they decided, that's when they would leave or whatever. So it'll change your whole outlook on everything. So anyways, going back to then, when my dad passed away, he passed away in my arms. We had just been talking. It was sorry. It was so weird. Like, it was really like turning a switch off. We were talking, and then he was gone. And I actually, while I was holding him in my arms, I was crying and talking to him, and I could see the whole, I was aware I was still holding him and I was in my body, but I could see the whole room around me. Sorry. And I could see him standing right here behind me over my shoulder, and was telling me, "It's okay, baby. I'm not in my body anymore. I don't hurt anymore." And I could see that he was like his young, handsome self that I remember when I was young, with the head full of black hair, dressed all nice and slim, and, healthy, really good looking. And that was just amazing. So then also around that time, I had an experience with a hummingbird after that also. I was standing outside, and I have been doing kind of meditation things to like slow time down, or like speed up to be able to notice things more, if that makes sense. And I'm standing outside, and I'm kind of meditating, and I'm kind of like in a dream state, really. And all of a sudden, this hummingbird flies up to me, and he's like right here in my face. And he's like turning his head, looking at me, and his wings, it's a hummingbird, so they're going really fast, but it doesn't appear that way to me. Like, they're going really in slow motion, and I can see every detail, every color, everything on his wings. And so we're just standing there, like, communicating and staring at each other for a few moments, and then he flies away. And after that, I just broke down in tears. I just cried. I was like, oh my God, it really works. Like, we can really control our environment, all that. So, that led to other things. And then I started noticing when I would drive through my neighborhood that I had grown up in, I started noticing that everything was alive, and that the trees that I had grown up with in my neighborhood, they had souls. Like, I could see them as living beings now. Like, I could tell you this one is like an old grandmotherly type, or this one's a guy, or this one's like a young boy. Like they had different like personalities, and it was so amazing. And when they would blow in the wind, their leaves and their branches, like I could hear music, like I could hear a symphony of earth. Like it's so amazing. Um, and I remember one time I was coming home and this beautiful tree, I don't know what it's called, but it's the ones that like intertwine all together, you know? So beautiful. And the people had cut two of the arms off for no reason. Like it wasn't blocking anything, it wasn't doing anything wrong. They had purchased this tree obviously and planted it in this nice big thing in the yard, and I have no idea why they cut the two limbs off this tree, but I had to pull over. I was crying so hard. I was devastated. And where they had cut the limbs off was bright red, like bright red. And I could feel the pain of the tree. I could feel it, and I felt she was embarrassed. She was embarrassed and was saying like, "Oh my gosh, look at me. What have they done?" Like, and I just cried and I felt so bad, and I told her she's still beautiful, not to worry about it, you know, she's still gorgeous and we still love her, and you know, all the things to make her feel better. That sounds crazy when I say it out loud now, that I was telling a tree that. But that's what happens when you're awakening. You start to realize that these things you thought were just things are really living beings that you can have relationships with, and you can get information from them, you can talk to them. Just work on it, you know, meditate, sit outside, be quiet, listen, you know, it'll work, it'll work. um, so then I started changing my diet also. I had been vegetarian for about 2 years. um, Yeah, I guess it was about 2 years. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I thought she had changed my body. Oh, that's another thing, another body change. Um, I became, uh, not glucose intolerant. Oh my gosh, what is it called? The bread. Gluten. Gluten intolerance. So, I can't eat any gluten. Like if I started noticing, like after I would eat stuff, I would get really exhausted. And I'm talking about, so like my whole body would shut down. I could not keep my eyes open no matter what I tried. My whole body would just shut down and have to sleep. And I started noticing it was after I eat bread or pasta or, you know, gluten. So, and then I had started hearing about other people too that this was happening too. Um, but yeah, I just completely, like while I was pregnant with my daughter, this happened, and I thought it was her actually changing my body. But now, you know, with the Mandela Effect, who knows? Um, and so also I became very, very sensitive to dairy. Um, I didn't really eat a lot of it. I didn't drink cow's milk by that time, but I would still have cheese and ice cream. And I loved ice cream. And I got to the point where I just couldn't even, every time I would have ice cream or cheese, I would just be sick to my stomach. Um, you know, I would have diarrhea. I would have bowel problems. My stomach would just cramp and cramp and cramp to where I would cry. Um, and so obviously I had to give it up. So my diet severely changed around that time also. Probably, yeah, 2011, 2012, all this happened. Um, and so I also stopped smoking. I think my dad passing actually helped with that. I used to smoke cigars, like chain smoke cigars. Like that's what I was known for. Since I was 18 years old, I smoked cigars. I don't know why. Um, and anyone who knew me knew like that was part of me. Like I was the girl who, you know, be smoking the cigars. Um, and so for me to quit was like a miracle basically. But I was able to do it in just a couple months. I just made up my mind and just quit. And I mean, I had quit smoking each time I was pregnant, but then, a few months later, after I had my baby, then I would start again for, God knows why. Um, but yeah, it only took me about 2 months to stop, and it's been, I think it was 2013 maybe that I quit. So it's been like 5 years now, which is huge. I also noticed that I didn't really want to drink alcohol anymore. I've probably went out to the bars or like for someone's birthday, something like that, maybe 3 times in the past like 3 years, like once a year maybe. And afterwards, after I drink, I just feel horrible. I don't ever want to do it again, and that usually lasts for like a whole year. I'm good. Um, but I just have no desire to smoke, no desire to drink anymore, no desire to eat anything not vegan, um, that, is not full of life force energy, that's not alive, that's going to actually nourish my body. I've just become very aware of this vessel and how to take care of it, and wanting to take care of it. Um, so yeah, that's all I have written down. And I've been talking so fast I can't really think about anything else right now. So I'll make another video soon. So thank you. If you like my videos, please subscribe, and like it. And there will be more to follow. And please share your videos. I go to everybody's page and check you guys out, who comments or likes it, to see if you have content I'll be interested in also. So let's share our stories and build our community and hold hands through the event. Thank you. Bye.